Kingsman: The Golden Circle is the sequel to 2015's surprise hit Kingsman: The Secret Service, which, like many other people, Kingsman 1 was a film that I didn't have a clue about walking in and fell in love with it straight away. This film, as with the first, is directed by Matthew Vaughn, who had never directed a sequel up until now. And honestly, Matthew Vaughn is still one of my favorite filmmakers working today, where his films can be stylish and crazy, but never forget the character moments that matter. And I have all the reason to believe that he fought to keep the character moments that are in this film. It has to be said that Kingsman 2 is a big film. It is a long film at 141 minutes or 2.5 hours, and this is a film that feels its length. There is a lot going on in this film, where a lot of it feels like there's too much happening for just one film. There are moments where you feel like the film could be ending, but it continues for another half hour. It is packed and typically runs at a fairly quick pace, a pace however that is hampered by having too much to digest. For those who may not be aware, this film takes place about a year after the original film, and minor spoilers for the first film here, but in this film, Eggsy, played by a top of his game Taron Egerton, has started a relationship with the Swedish princess Tilda, which I think was the best way to progress that setup, as I think a few people had some issues with how their relationship formed in the first film. Eggsy's career here as a Kingsman is disrupted following an attack on the Kingsman from villain Poppy, played by Julianne Moore, leaving Eggsy and Merlin, again played by a brilliant Mark Strong, no choice but to seek the Statesmen, their American counterparts, which feature the likes of Channing Tatum, Halle Berry, Jeff Bridges, and Narcos' Pedro Pascal. From there, the Kingsman and the Statesmen must team up to defeat Poppy and her master plan. That's honestly a very brief summary of the film, and there's seriously a lot more in between. You still get more of the globe-trotting spy adventure from the first film, just cranks way up to 11. This definitely feels more comic bookish than the first film, which, don't get me wrong, these films are based on comics, and I actually really liked all of the action, stunts, and set pieces, but I would have just liked a bit more focus on the spy part of things. You can just tell watching the film that there are parts that could have been cut out completely or reworked in a way that would have helped smooth the pace out. The performances are all top notch. I'm really waiting for the day we start seeing Taron Egerton in everything. The guy can do no wrong in my opinion. The Statesmen are all entertaining, although the one we really get to spend the most time with is Pedro Pascal, who's clearly having a ton of fun in the film. The others are really just there more for face value. Channing Tatum is in the film briefly and is serviceable to the plot, but honestly he really doesn't have a great deal to do. Julianne Moore is on a crazy level here that just doesn't really mesh as well with the world as Samuel L. Jackson's villain did in the first film, and her plan is honestly kind of a rehash of what we got last time. I think I would have been more okay with how a character was handled if we hadn't jumped to robot dogs. Colin Firth does return. They explain how he returns very briefly for those who've seen the original film. It's a fine explanation, but nothing mind-blowing. I think more could have been done to explain how he came back in maybe a more original or surprising way. Some of the original Kingsmen, like Sophie Cookson, get kind of shortchanged here, which I thought was a bit disappointing, as she was someone who never really got a great deal to work with in these films. The film does fall a bit too heavily into satire, rather than walk the fine line of the first film, and this couldn't be more exemplified than the more or less glorified cameo / minor role that Elton John has in the film, and that's not a spoiler, he is all over the marketing, he is there. As much as I love the guy, the winks and nods to the audience really started to distract me over time, and I think you could easily do without him. The action is really the bread and butter of the Kingsman series, and just like the church scene from the first film, Golden Circle ramps up what Vaughn can capture all in camera and with smart little editing tricks to keep the action flowing. Fans of the fast and frenetic action from the original film will definitely be happy in this regard, and I can honestly say every time there was a big set piece or stunt heavy fight scene, I was having a hell of a lot of fun, even if some set pieces could honestly be cut for the sake of pacing. While it does sound like I am being a bit more negative than I intend to be, I actually did still have a really fun time with the film. It's still quite funny. There's a peculiar sex scene that occurs during the film that I think will have some head scratchings like the peculiar sex scene that we got in the first film. The character moments here with Eggsy, Merlin, and Galahad really keep the film together from a plot that almost can't quite keep itself together. For some, I think the film might be a jump the shark moment for the Kingsman series. It does get a bit too silly. Honestly, I'd put it on the Roger Moore Bond level to give you an idea, but still, for the most part, it's a very well made and crafted film that I was happy to sit back, watch, and stuff a lot of popcorn in my face for. I mean, if you love the Roger Moore Bond films, I think you are definitely going to eat this up. Kingsman: The Golden Circle isn't a perfect film. It tries for the bigger and better sequel that hits the same story beats as the first, but ultimately comes up a bit bloated. I am looking forward to the extended director's cut that gets released on Blu-ray, as we know a lot of the film was left on the cutting room floor for the sake of getting the film into theaters. If the director's cut does smooth out the pacing issues that the film has, I imagine my score will go up and opinions on the film may change. But for a fun, silly popcorn film, you could do way worse right now. For me, Kingsman: The Golden Circle gets a 7.5 out of 10 for me. Guys, I hope you liked this review. If you did like this review, do remember to hit the thumbs up button and leave a comment down below in the comments section. Have you seen Kingsman, or are you planning to see Kingsman? Do let me know down below in the comments section. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, do hit the subscribe button with the little bell next to it, which will remind you of when the Mono Report uploads new content. And don't forget you can follow the Mono Report on Facebook and Twitter at the Mono Report. Thank you so much, guys. Don't forget to stay right here for your Mono Fix. Bye, guys.